Hello everyone, this is Nitpicking Nerd, and this is my prediction for the last episode of Season 1 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And I saw the teaser trailer for this episode, and it seems to me they're going to completely reboot and remake the TOS episode Balance of Terror, which was the first battle against the Romulans, and it was stated in that episode that they did not fight the Romulans for a century ever since the Earth-Romulan War a century before, and so if they do this now, it can only mean they are officially rebooting the timeline, that maybe they will finally admit that this is all taking place in a new timeline, or maybe they will have a reset button in the very end of this episode and erasing all of the events of the episode somehow, which I kind of hope they won't. I do think they should probably go into the alternate timeline route, because that will be better for the show and for the franchise overall, and it will make my job easier. I will no longer have to point out every single continuity issue, and maybe they will somehow tie it all to the personal story of Pike, of that whole dilemma he has of whether or not he should try to avoid his own fate, and maybe in this episode he does decide to do something to alter his destiny, and that will accidentally cause this bigger event of the premature battle with the Romulans, and it might all turn out to be some kind of vision or some kind of a reset button in the very end, which will erase the events of this episode, and maybe it will force him to accept his destiny after seeing what might happen if he tries to alter it. So I guess it's a possibility. I kind of hope that will not be the case. I hope maybe that his decision to try to change his own fate is what leads to the alternate timeline, but they should probably stay in the alternate timeline, meaning they should not try to reset it and keep it all in the old continuity, because it wouldn't work anyway. So it's better off to finally admit it, that this whole show is a reboot, a remake, and stop trying to pretend this is a prequel, which will heavily restrict the show. And I do think tying the personal story with the bigger galactic events is a good idea. It will be more dramatic, it will be more interesting, and maybe he will do it not for selfish reasons, but because he will try to save someone else who was involved in that incident, namely that kid that we saw in the teaser, that he recognizes that he was one of the ones who did die in that event. So maybe to save that kid, that's why he decides to try to change things, and that will accidentally lead to the battle with the Romulans and potentially to a war with the Romulans. And I do hope they will stick with the alternate timeline and not try to retcon it in the very end as if all the episode never happened, because that would be a cop-out. I do think they should do something dramatic to shake up the show and admit it's all in a different timeline. That is the best direction for the show, with the most amount of potential moving forward, because restricting the show into a strict prequel in which there are so many things they would never be allowed to do is probably a bad idea. It's much better off to free the show so they can do whatever they want, even though this way they will not have to invent anything new. They can just recycle all the previous ideas from the other shows and do their own version of it, which is kind of more lazy approach to all of this, because this way they will never have to invent anything new. They can just take whatever idea from any of the other shows and just do a new version of it, instead of actually inventing something new which we never saw before. And I will see you all next time when I will review the actual episode. So that's it for now, and I'll see you next time.